Did our Lord suffer any temptations other than the one instance recorded in the Gospel?
Well, I assume that the writer is referring to the case of our Lord being tempted by the devil in the desert. Okay, there were three instances. There were three separate temptations, corresponding to what St. John refers to the world, the flesh, and the devil. Right, but the devil was behind all of those. He was launching all of those temptations at our Lord. But remember, since we're tempted not only by the devil, but also by the flesh and the world around us, then we have to say, well, yes, our Lord did suffer temptations. They might not have been directly attributable to Satan, who targeted our Lord for temptation. But, I mean, our Lord suffered from living in the world around him, living in this world. The flesh also, the weakness of the flesh, He it wasn't just that he suffered hunger at the end of his fast for those 40 days. Our Lord suffered many discomforts all of his life, physical discomfort. You might say that that temptation was something endemic in the life of our Lord. Our Lord even said that the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head, as if he had nowhere to rest. And our Lord would be active during the day in preaching and healing, and he would spend the night in prayer. So certainly he felt the deprivation of life here on earth. He felt the deprivation of the flesh that was not being satisfied. No doubt he felt the lack of sleep. No doubt he felt the hunger, and he felt cold and fatigue. He certainly felt all of those things. So it wasn't just during the temptation of the devil that our Lord felt those things. And these were trials. We call them trials and tribulations. Certainly, on the cross, again, our Lord was being taunted. He was being challenged. The pain that he suffered, the anguish that he suffered, you might look upon that all as a temptation. We see in the garden that this caused our Lord real suffering and real distress, so much so that he asked the Father, "Father, if it is possible, please let this chalice pass from me," chalice of suffering. But then our Lord said, "But not my will, but thy will be done." So you can be sure that his human will was tested by constant privation. So in the sense that our Lord was tempted directly and targeted by Satan, well, we have the examples of the first Sunday in Lent, right? The gospel of the first Sunday in Lent. But we can't, forget that there were also other sources of temptation, like the world around us and the flesh within us. Even though these could not in any way shake our Lord's will or influence his will, nonetheless, he did have to suffer with the privation that we would definitely find a challenge to our resolve. But our Lord, being the Son of God and perfect man, would not weaken toward these things, but he still had suffering because of them.
Mm-hmm. Would it be correct to say, though, Father, that our Lord never, with his perfect human nature, he did not suffer from any disordered passions? He never had to face any temptations toward anger, for example. Would that be correct?
Well, yes, but even the anger that our Lord did feel, and he had human anger, and he did have human feelings, certainly. He was man. But as far as that these were not disordered, you're absolutely right, Tom, because his love was always to the Father. Not only did he love the Father with all of his heart and mind and soul and strength and will as man, and he never wavered from that. His love for the Father in heaven was perfect. And he's the only person to whom the Son of God, the second person of the Blessed Trinity, prayed. Our Lord, as man, actually prayed to the Father. He even prayed to the Father for Peter. Remember that when he said that? "Peter, I prayed for you because Satan wanted to sift you as wheat." And our Lord, the Son of God, prayed to God the Father for Peter to spare him. So there was no disorder in our Lord. Humanly speaking, there was that perfect order of a perfect soul with all of its faculties of intelligence to know truth and will to love good, and all of the other faculties right on down through the human passions. Everything was ordered toward the love of the Father. So that even when our Lord was angry and drove the money changers in the temple, it was because of the love of the Father and for the honor of the Father that he was angry. So even there, his anger was a just and holy anger.